family system works. And they may not be able to use big words, but they have a feeling sense about it. And they manifest that feeling sense in their own life. Do they skip around and whistle in the shower, or are they always just sad and scared? They will show it in their body, and ultimately they will show it in symptoms. And children are always expressing to us how they feel. It's just that we don't know how to pay attention and really give them that regard, that they are aware of their feelings. We don't give them that trust, and we don't want to listen. We don't attune to them. So these are the elements that ultimately raise a resilient and empowered child.
Oh, that was such a good one. And I think probably a lot of parents and guardians listening might go, okay, moment for pause there. Do I really listen to my kids? Am I really observing and hearing what it is they're trying to tell me? And I think in this day that we live in, with so much outside filtered noise, it's so easy to sort of just miss the moments to connect.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think if we stop and really try to listen to our kids, we'll realize that there's so much more to them than just these little beings, because we feel like just because we're older, we always know what's best for them, which is not always the case, and we can learn so much from our kids. Our kids are actually our biggest teachers. My sister was actually asking me the other day whether, if I had to do this all over again, would I have kids? And I said to her, obviously I had to think about it for some time. And I realized, I said to her, you know what? I don't think I'll be the person that I am today if I didn't have kids. Because they have forced me to grow. They have forced me to unlearn and relearn. And if it wasn't for them, I wouldn't have gone on that journey.
Yeah, and that's why relationships are so powerful. And of course, it's easier to be without them. They are all a headache at the end of the day. But like she said, Bayanda says, when you're confronted in that intimacy, and with children, there's no escape. You cannot divorce them. There is a rubber meets the road moment where somebody has to give in, and you can beat your child into submission, but that's never going to help them in the long run. So then ultimately, you have to change, and that's the power of having children.
We'll let you just marinate on that thought for a second as we take a quick break for the headline news, and then we come back and continue our conversation with the ladies. Hopefully, you're taking some notes. Gumete, who is a mom blogger and entrepreneur, as well as Dr. Shafali, who's a clinical psychologist who focuses on conscious parenting, joining me in studio. And we're talking around, I said conscious parenting, and one of my producers sharply looked through the window. So I wonder if she's wondering whether or not am I doing this parenting thing correct. Our lines are open. You can send us a voice note on WhatsApp on 061-410-4107 if you'd like to WhatsApp us. In fact, speaking of WhatsApp, let's go to WhatsApp right now.
Hi, Bridget. As somebody who has worked as a high school teacher, I think these sort of seminars or workshops would really be beneficial for teachers or other caregivers with whom children spend a lot of their waking time with. My experience in teaching, I only did it for 2 years. It really made me realize that a lot of us, myself included, struggle with regulating our emotions, and it really shows in how we treat children. So I think it really would be beneficial for not just parents, but even teachers. Great show. Thank you.
Oh man, I didn't catch her name at the end there, but I love that suggestion, Dr. Shafali, and she, she puts forward that perhaps seminars like the one that we are having tomorrow out at Gallagher, if you can come through the Intentional Parenting Summit 2023, she puts forward that perhaps it should be something that should be incorporated even in the classroom or to other caregivers, considering how much time teachers, for instance, spend with children and the kind of influence that they have on kids.
Yeah, so in my global work, a lot of teachers do attend, and hopefully tomorrow quite a few will attend as well, because it's pivotal for all who interact with children to understand how to regulate emotions, how to understand how children think, how children are, what children need. And by placing the child at the forefront of our focus, we can be more successful in meeting their needs and therefore have a healthier society.
I like what you say, and let's talk about the practicalities, by the way, of intentional parenting. We've kind of alluded to it, but then if someone's listening, they're going, okay, so what are we talking about here, Dr. Shafali and Mayanda? Are we talking about, I get the part about sort of introspecting yourself, but are we also talking about being a little bit more modern and relaxed in as far as house rules are concerned, and how much is giving a child a say? Parents are always wanting to interrogate and maybe find the weaknesses in trying to do things better.
Well, because we've been so indoctrinated in a model that insists on supreme control and a house full of rules and a house full of order, as if that is the key to success. And we're not talking about burning the house down. We're not talking about smoking pot with your 7-year-old. But parents will hear that. They think that, oh, if you take away my control, then we're going to raise an alcoholic child.
Yeah.
The parents go to these extremes because they're so afraid of contemplating a different approach rather than the one of control. And we're talking about first changing mindset, changing the approach, and then the behavior follows. But first, questioning and deconstructing, why am I so afraid to live in a more relaxed, easygoing, calm, harmonious way? Why do I need control so much? And the answer to that will be because I live in fear. And most of us parent in fear and raise children in fear. Fear of the future, fear of the what if. And very few of us truly enjoy life with our children in the what is and help our children get there.
Oh, that was a moment. That was a moment. And this is why she's a New York Times bestseller with 4 books under her belt. A lot of parents parent from a place of fear. Would you agree?
I think we parent in the future, instead of being present in the moment. Your child will do something as a 5-year-old, and then you think, oh my goodness, my child is going to be a hobo when they're 30. You know what I mean? So we need to be more present, in the moment with our kids and enjoy parenting, because parenting, is supposed to bring us joy, as difficult as it is. Yeah.
But we make it difficult because, like Beanda said, we put all these expectations of how they should be in the future. And we try to, in a weird way, bubble wrap our children from failure, but in fact then ruin the present moment in these fear-induced tactics of yelling at them, screaming at them, punishing them, all because in the future we want them to not have failure.
Yeah.
But in a paradoxical way, we ruin the present moment. So we make it stressful because we have this expectation and this agenda to raise super perfect, superhuman, super amazing, super achieving children. And that is not our role. Our role is not to raise the doing aspects of our children. Our role is to raise the being aspects. And the being aspects come from connection. Once you take care of the foundational being aspects, then they are free to choose the doing at their liberty, and actually will be more successful because they're more in touch with who it is they are versus following culture's prescription.
Shoo. And as yes, sorry,
Sorry,
Banana.
I just want to add to what Dr. Shafali said about connection. And connection is so powerful because what I've noticed with my kids, especially my youngest daughter, when I am spending quality time with her, her behavior improves. So there's no need to discipline. So when she feels connected to me, and she feels truly seen, then her behavior, improves, and she's more cooperative. So connection is so important. I feel like as parents, we kind of overlook how critical it is when it comes to our relationship with our kids.
And as we wrap it up, ladies, I want to ask you, Dr. Shafali, let me take the moment to ask to say how much of our own scarring, our own damage comes into play here, right? Because I would think that, as Bayanda smiles, I would think that we all move sort of created by our own lived life experiences from when we were children and if you're not tapped into that, if part of the work that you have not done on yourself to access that, you're not even conscious of all of that you bring into your parenting.
Yes, so that's the fundamental crux of this work that I teach, is that our conditioning from childhood is having a greater role in the parenting than our children. So we're actually parenting from our place of scarring, our place of wounding, our place of conditioning, than we are parenting the child before us. So therefore, because we are not aware of that, we fail to attune to the child before us and project all this stuff onto our children. And we face this with our parents, where we didn't feel seen, we didn't feel understood, we didn't feel safe. And then that debilitates us in living empowered, resilient lives. So the goal of conscious parenting is to work on ourselves and to liberate our children from that projection.
Ladies, I appreciate the conversation with you this afternoon, and I hope if you were listening, you definitely walked away with a nugget or two that you can consider rather moving forward. That Intentional Parenting Summit is happening at Gallagher Convention Center tomorrow in Midrand at for those that want to go. Yes.
Sorry, Bridget, can I just interrupt you? It's actually happening at the Radisson Blue Gautrain Hotel in Sandton.
Okay.
Tomorrow.
I don't know
Yes.
why I got
No worries.
Gallagher. So it's the Radisson Blue
Gautrain Hotel in Sandton.
Okay, Radisson Blue Gautrain. I know exactly where that is. And in terms
Yes.
of registration and things of that nature?
Tickets are available at Web Tickets, or you can go to our website, which is intentionalparentingsa.com.
Okay, intentionalparentingsa.com is where you can go if you want to get tickets for the seminar. It is happening tomorrow, the Intentional Parenting Summit. And by point of correction, it is at the Radisson Gautrain. You know that one, right opposite the Gautrain station at the corner there in Sandton. It's just gotten 22 at 3 o'clock. John Gerke is coming through to let us know what's coming up on Beyond the Headline between 3 and 6. And then Ntikim Kize from Mentor is in the house with self-development.
It's about a little more than
died in 2019.
But when we say design, what are we talking about?
Well-
Because also a very noted Bra Pat is quite the respected and acclaimed visual artist. And he's still very much alive. Perhaps I'll listen to that and then we'll follow up with the conversation with Bra Pat. Bra Pat was one of the 6 people involved
Yeah.
in the conceptualization and design of the South African flag.
Well, now you see, Clay is saying that he's got designs which he gave to these people.
So
and they
did he
designed the flag.
design like the like the Y?
Well, we're going to find out. We're going to
And,
find out from the spokesperson of him. But according to the department and the government, no submissions bearing your name that are no design elements consistent with those of the South
I
African
mean,
flag.
next thing is going to say he's responsible for, I don't know. Okay, I'll listen before I pass judgment.
So we'll get the views
I
on
will
that.
listen and then we will have a follow-up on that.
And then it's Malaria Week, and it's a horrific amount of people that die of malaria. Every single day, many, many people across the continent die of malaria. 70 people in South Africa have died of malaria already this year. Thousands of cases. 3.2 billion people, half the world's population, at risk of malaria. And we will talk to an organization put together by the guy who started Nando's, who are now going to be putting things together and are working out and getting vector resistance and things. It's all very confusing, but I will get him to explain us how we can save people from dying of malaria.
Awesome stuff. Lots on the agenda this afternoon with John. He's in for Aldrin for the rest of the week. 3 to 6 beyond the headline.
The Kosi Nation.
On SAFM as we prepare to wrap up the show in the final moments. And Nsiki Mkize is joining me, founder of Mentor. How are you doing this afternoon, madam?
I'm doing well, thanks, Bridget. How are you?
I'm fantastic. All right, what is on the agenda
Wonderful.
today? We are talking self-development, growth, and sustaining results.
Yes, so good afternoon to all of our listeners. And we've been on this series around, looking at tiny habits, looking at our behaviors and what we can change. And I think a lot of people go like, I know exactly what I need to change. I'm good at getting going, but I just struggle to stay on track. So
Yeah.
the conversation today is, how do we actually maintain and sustain the behavior change that we want to see so that we can see and reap the full benefits of those results?
And Ntiki, I hope you're not going to tell me that, if you repeat a habit for more than 30 days, because then you're going to lose me.
So that is one of the tools in terms of how long it actually takes to wire in a new pattern. But luckily for you today, Bridget, I have hacks that you can do that kind of keep you on track before you get to those complete 61 days to see a new habit form, right?
Yeah.
So I think for a lot of people, awareness is great. And a really quick hack for people to do is we shift from awareness and then we have a choice to say, do I continue with my current behavior or do I wire in my new behavior? And the trick is, and this is really helpful, that if you choose the new behavior more often than not. So let's say, for example, you are trying to eat healthy, right? And you go out 3 times a week. So you might not eat healthy all 3 times when you've gone out, but once out of 3 times you could eat healthy. Or if you're going, I'm doing this new thing and every single day I'm going to drink more water than I do drink coffee. You might not get it right every day, but if you have on balance more days in the week where you have gotten it right, it becomes easy for you to go, oh, this new behavior change actually works, or I actually can do it. And that becomes a motivator that allows you to keep choosing the new behavior and then ultimately wiring it in as a new pattern.
All right. So in terms of, the compelling motives that one uses or that one must have, what are we talking about here?
So, and those are different for everybody, right? So, what really creates a compelling motive is the opportunity for change and the capability for change. So, if you are sufficiently motivated to do something about something, and ideally not because of a negative externality that occurs, right? We want to be in a position of power whereby we're choosing our new behaviors because we can, not because the doctor said, hey, if you don't change, you're going to have a heart attack. And oftentimes people do respond to very bad or, existential negative responses. But what Simon Sinek talks about is the three concentric circles of why, right? So the external circles being the what and the how, but the core circle being our why. So if people can decide for themselves, what is the intrinsic motivator behind my why? So it's not just the fact that the next time I go to the doctor, I want to have a good health report, but it's the fact that I actually have young children and I want to see them grow up. Therefore, I'm not just trying to reduce my high blood pressure so that I'm getting a good test result. I want to reduce it so that I'm increasing my lifespan or I'm improving my quality of life so that my family, be it my partner or my children, have a better version of me to engage with, but also have me around for a much longer time. So it's for you as an individual to identify what is that intrinsic why that is a strong motivator, that even on the days when you don't feel like it, that why brings you back to actually take that action and continue making the choice to do the new behavior, which then over time will give you that new wired in behavior.
I think it's also the narrowing down on the why. Anytime we're asked to find the why, it can be a bit difficult at times.
It really can, and I think for a lot of people, even if you don't have a strong why, we start out with desire, right? So we like, oh, I want to do this thing, or I know I should do this thing. But if you don't anchor it down with a compelling why, at some point the knowing, because we all know what we're supposed to do. We all know we're supposed to drink water. We all know we should get enough sleep. We all know we should exercise. But we don't do it because we also know that, I've survived long enough without, or the risk thereof doesn't seem as imminent. So it's really only once you have a strong why that you're able to stay the course with that. And when I talk about making that choice as often as you can, the benefit of that is that it shows you the fact that you can. So that creates a positive stimulus in your brain where you feel like, oh, I'm capable of doing this. And the more you do it, the easier it becomes for you to do it. So it's not just going, oh, I have to decide to do this new thing, but you're tricking yourself into, I'm doing it more, and therefore I can see that it's easy to do, and therefore I realize, oh, I'm improving in my ability to do this, and then I'm actually starting to see results. So my results might not be being at my goal weight overnight, but I can see the result that, oh, I can actually fit into this outfit and I wasn't able to fit into this 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
Or in a month from now, you realize I actually am not out of breath when I'm climbing the stairs, and I used to not be able to even climb the first flight of stairs, right? So it's micro progressions, but because we're constantly making these decisions, it's a lot easier to sustain the change. And then I think the last thing around this for people to also recognize is identify where you are in this process or the stage of behavior change, right? So the shift from pre-contemplation where, Bridget, I think it might be a good idea to start training for a marathon, right? Like we're brainstorming, we're throwing around ideas. And then I start actually contemplating. I'm like, no, Bridget, I really think I want to run this marathon this time next year, and this is what I'm actually going to have to do if I have to do it. Maybe I need to adjust these things. And then the third thing is you'll start preparation, right? So you'll go, okay, actually, if I'm going to run a marathon in a year from now, I need to start training 3 times a week, and this is how much I need to train. And then I'm going to build up my training schedule until I get to X point. And then the fourth stage is the action or the willpower. So actually doing it. And the final step is maintenance. So for people to just be honest with themselves around where actually are you, because there's a huge jump between pre-contemplation, so just thinking about it and mentioning it to friends, and being close enough to having the willpower to make the decision to start that new behavior.
Yeah. I think definitely food for thought for us this afternoon, Nziki. Let's leave it there for today. That was Nziki Mkhize, founder of Men's Hair. How do we sustain the results that we set, the results that we want to see in all the goals and ambitions that we set out for ourselves? And on that note, for me and my team, it's time for us to make way for John to come through with his and keep you company for the rest of the day. Lots on the agenda by way of discussion points for you today on Beyond the Headline. But I did promise that we are going to double back to our earlier conversation from the first hour of the show. And it really elicited quite a lot of strong opinion from a lot of you. I got a message from Anonymous that said, I'm confused enough. I'm not going to allow Gerald to confuse me further. Another one said, hello, Bridget. Where does this concept, black excellence, come from? Does it come from a place of fear and inferiority or power? Good questions there. And another saying, sounds to me like Gerald is just trying to create further division among South Africans. He's being absolutely petty. And that was from Jennifer in Durban. As we close it off, we're going to close it off with your WhatsApp voice notes. We appreciate you for being in conversation with us every single day between 1 and 3. Let's do it again tomorrow, inshallah, God willing.
Afternoon, Bridget. In the full circle. Black success